Please take your seats. Everybody, this is not church. Please move up to the front. It's not church. I mean, that's where I go to church, in the back. So let's go. We've got TV, and we've got internet, and we've got chatters. Freddie, you going to join us? The city manager was asking about you, so no, just a joke. Okay, thank you very much. I am Bill Talbert. I'm president and CEO of your Greater Miami Convention and Visitors Bureau. We were just here a few days ago, right? In this room, the state of the industry, that was Thursday. And I guess since Thursday, the city of Miami Beach has had a new city manager sworn in. Let's see, yeah. And that new city manager resulted in a 14-hour city commission meeting yesterday. So you got a lot done. There you go. There's what a new manager would say. We got a lot done. So with that said, we're glad everybody's here. Here at the Miami Beach Convention Center, we've got a bunch of Zoomers. Now, normally I say you must be present to win, but you're not going to win anything today. So where's Heather? Heather's always a winner. You're always a winner. Let's hear it for Heather. Heather last Thursday left to go work. And I guess everybody knows the rest of the history. So with that said, Ryan, welcome back. We were just talking. Where's Ginny? Welcome back. Everybody kind of welcome back. Last year, what did we do? Zoom. Totally Zoom. Totally Zoom. We weren't even anywhere, huh? So this year, I can tell you on October 21st, in this building, your Greater Miami Convention and Visitors Bureau had the first annual face-to-face hybrid annual meeting for any convention bureau in the United States. October 21st became the gold standard. Right, Sonia? Yeah, thumbs up. Thank you. So with that said, we just heard from Commissioner Gongori. He is in court. Where's Diana? Chief of Staff? He's in court. I don't know if he's a defendant or a plaintiff. Is probably not important at this point. Heather's a lawyer. You know, there's not much difference. So, with that said, I'm gonna point of personal privilege. I'm gonna introduce your new city manager, Alina T. Hudak.
Thank you, Bill, and good afternoon, everyone. It is an honor to be here speaking to all of you today. This is not my first time at this meeting, but it's certainly an honor to be here in my new capacity as the city manager of the city of Miami Beach. And really my role here today is strictly to welcome you. So please welcome to our beautiful city. For those of you who are Zooming and participating via Zoom, I hope to be together with you soon in person. It's very important that we all transition safely back to in person as quickly as possible and continue to welcome our tourists and all the people who want to do business here and continue the economic recovery of our wonderful community. I think it's very important as your city manager, and again, I've been here in my capacity as deputy mayor, and I've been here in my capacity as an assistant county manager throughout a variety of different situations that we've faced in our community. But I think it's very important that all of you feel comfortable in knowing that you have a city manager and a city administration, and that you have professional leadership that is experienced in handling not only emergency response, but obviously in the operation, the full day-to-day operation of this community that we're so privileged to serve. So just by way of background, for those of you who don't know me, I did spend 35 years of my career working for Miami-Dade County government, and in that capacity, I've sat in the Emergency Operations Center for our community for every event and every hurricane that we've faced over the last 35 years. So I am very experienced in emergency response, and I can tell you without any doubt that through our fire chief, our police chief, and all of the folks in our emergency management department, that this city is extraordinarily prepared to face whatever it may have to face during hurricane season. A special treat today is to have the best meteorologist on TV with us, Ryan Phillips, and not only is he wonderful to watch on NBC6, But he was also my daughter's professor at the University of Miami, and she learned much from him and still treasures her time at the U, listening to Professor Phillips. So again, welcome to our beautiful city. You will hear from not only experts, but people who actually run the day-to-day operation. It's my honor and privilege to be able to serve in this capacity, and also to introduce to you the president and CEO of the Greater Miami and the Beaches Hotel Association. Little known fact that she was the catering manager at the Biltmore for my wedding, by pure coincidence, 27 some years ago. And I still always ask her if I was a bridezilla, but she never answers the question. So that's our secret. Anyway, thank you all very much for always including us and welcoming us. Let's just, continue the great collaboration that we have and work together to serve our visitors, our residents, and all those who do business in the city of Miami Beach. Thank you.
She was a fabulous bride, by the way, but her husband was like the best groom. So hello, everyone. And I'm holding this mic. Wait, I can talk from here, right, Freddie? The cookies are great, Freddie, by the way. I just wanted to thank our City of Miami Beach, the GMCVB, and Miami-Dade County for their partnership throughout all the time, but also throughout the very beginning of COVID, and how incredibly close we work together, all of us. And I just want to, and you can count on our support for anything that you need with our upcoming season. I'm just going to say season. I'm not going to say what season it is. So we want to, and I always encourage the hotel employees. I remember my story back in the day working at the Grand Bay Hotel and the Biltmore Hotel and the Mayfair. I think those were 3 properties where we did experience, a shutdown with a storm. In particular, Hurricane Andrew. I'll never forget that. And I want to encourage you all to have your hotel employees get their personal storm plans, because I don't know about you, but because of COVID, I don't even remember what month we're in right now. I mean, you know what I mean? Because the weather's been the same, and it just seems like it's hard to believe that we're already close to season. So start getting your supplies ready, because the hotel employees will need to do that so that they're ready to help the guests. And ask the hotels to seek inland hotels out of evacuation zones. We have so many hotels across Miami-Dade County that you can partner with, and if you need any help, please let me know and I can help you. There, that in case we have to relocate, right, Jenny? We always, that was a big part of your job, was helping us find properties to relocate to. And also to reinforce the message to everyone that shelters are shelters of last resort for hotel guests. And I know that you know that, but I just wanted to remind you. So I have a little bio of our weatherman. I'm going to just read a couple things. So Ryan Phillips, who we love, is a meteorologist at NBC6 WTVJ, broadcasting for the last 16 years. So you must have started when you were like 10 years old. Ryan is entering the 22nd year in television with previous positions in Ohio and Nebraska. Go Buckeyes, I'm supposed to say. Go Buckeyes. He also holds the designation as a certified broadcast meteorologist from the American Meteorological Society. Ryan is a graduate of Ohio University, where he majored in geography and meteorology, while also serving as a tutor and part-time instructor for the Department of Geography. For the last 5 years, he has served as part-time instructor for the Rosenstiel School of Marine and Atmospheric Science at the University of Miami. And he is also married to a wonderful, wonderful woman, Zena Phillips, who is a hotelier. She's the director of catering events for the Americas for Hilton. She has a very big job, and I had an opportunity to have Ryan and Zena on a webinar together, and they have, and he's a girl dad. He's got 2 girls. How old are they now? 4 and 7. I'm sure they've grown up a lot during COVID, right? So it gives me great pleasure to introduce our friend, our partner, Ryan Phillips.
Thank you. Okay, so the first part here is like, I want to wear my mask because I've been waiting to wear this mask in public for about 9 months. My mom made this for me, my pink flamingo mask. It's very Miami. So I just finished teaching the whole semester with a mask on, and it was a really good experience at the U, but it's actually kind of weird. I mean, I haven't been in Publix where there's been more people than are in this room. But thanks to everyone. I think I have a lav mic on. Is that okay? You guys can hear me okay? We're good? Okay. And then hello to everyone on Zoom. So these guys hooked me up. It feels like I'm at the TV station. I got a clicker, I got a wireless mic, I'm good to go. So let's get to the presentation. You know, normally, we approach these meetings, and I thank you again for the invitation to speak. I think now more it's about I'm plugged in because my wife tells me how the business works, more so than me knowing about the weather, but I'll pretend they want the weather knowledge. When we look at these maps, we want to take a pragmatic approach to the season in preparation and getting storm ready for both our families personally and, of course, our properties and our operations and as a community. But you can't help but think that and feel that there's some emotion to it. And when we start to see these spaghetti plots, or maybe we start to look at this radar image, we can't help but feel a little bit of emotion. And that's okay. We want to, again, take a pragmatic and a functional approach to hurricane preparation, but a little bit of emotion to stir you oftentimes will help to motivate preparation. At NBC6, we've got a stellar multi-million-dollar radar, and as this radar imagery goes through time, I think you'll get a better feel for exactly what storm this was and when it happened. But this is a time lapse over many, many hours, and there was a lot of anticipation and a lot of emotion building. This was Dorian just 2 years ago in 2019. And this was a storm that we had to have faith in the models, we had to have faith in science and what we were communicating, that we were going to be okay here in South Florida with some fringe effects of the storm, but not the core punishing part of the storm that unfortunately our friends in the Northwest Bahamas had to endure. But again, this should probably excite some emotion that, hey, I need to get prepared, we need to get ready. So I'm going to just throw this up here. This is from Robert Sapolsky. He's a neurologist and biologist from the University of Stanford. And I read this 5 years ago, and I've stayed it ever since, and I think it captures the moment. If for psychological reasons you decide that every single day is an emergency, you're going to pay a price in the long run. I don't know about you, but last season I thought, in a pandemic, if things are going to go wrong, it's going to be this year. And I have never been so prepared for the storm season as I was last year. It gave me a lot of comfort going to work each day, knowing everything was secure with my family and at my house. And that's what I think we should all chase after is finding that level of comfort in our level of preparation, both at our properties and with our employees and team members. Quickly last year, busy year, of course. This is a quick imagery of Hurricane Laura, which we actually looked at during our meeting last year. We actually started off the meeting last year because we knew Laura was an imminent threat to the Louisiana coastline. We ended up with 30 named storms last season. It was just busy. It was just storm after storm after storm, and the season just would not end. We ended up with 30 storms, 14 hurricanes, and earlier in the week we had 6 major hurricanes, but just this week they did a reanalysis on Hurricane Zeta, and that turned out to be another major hurricane. So last year, off the charts. We do not want to go back there anytime soon. Last year was also the season where we were introduced to very strong language from the National Hurricane Center. When you see a bulletin that goes out that says a system is going to produce storm surge that's unsurvivable, what do you think that does? It motivates people to get ready. And we had good success with that. Now, of course, as citizens in Hurricane Alley, this is kind of how we're looking at things. The majority of our time was just spent saying, is it over yet? And then there was a little part of it that says, well, I think I'm okay. I think we're going to make it. Part of us, and more the optimistic approach, would be to say, okay, we're still going, we're still making it, we're still hanging on after all these storm close calls here in South Florida. Now, this is the G-rated pie chart, of course. So you can insert whatever you want for Are You Kidding Me? But I think you know where I'm going there. It was a very long and frustrating year, but thankfully we did not have really direct impacts. We had impacts, but I'll show you that in a moment, but not direct impacts here in South Florida. All right, going into the next season, you're going to hear more about these higher numbers, these higher average season numbers. This changed because I just wanted to make you aware that we've moved the historical data set from 1981 to 1991. So we're now taking the average from the 30-year period from 91 to 2020. And so now our new average is 14 named storms a season, 7 hurricanes and 3 major hurricanes. Now, you know where we live, you know how it goes. And this is only looking at these tracks that take us up to 2005. And if you've been here since 2005, you know it's been a lot busier than that. Who was here for 04 and 05? Okay, more than half the room. So you remember 4 and 04, where we had some very close calls, some brush impacts as storms kind of meandered off the east coast of Florida. We also had Ivan and Charlie on the west coast. And then we had to punch our ticket with Katrina and Wilma in 05. So say that you weren't here for those storms. We come a little bit closer in the last 5 years. We've had plenty of close calls. We've had Matthew, Irma, Gordon, Dorian, as I showed you, and then also Isaias last year, which went to our east. We had TD19, which developed on top of us, and then late in the season and early in November, we had Ada. We had impacts and concerns with all systems, but again, the most dangerous system, I think, last year was a system that had Katrina-like potential, and that was TD19. It became Sally, but remember, that developed just offshore. And so with the system developing just offshore, when something just pops up on your doorstep, you got to be ready for those. And TD19 had the potential to do that, just like Katrina did in August of 2005 when it was a tropical depression getting closer, and then it just gained strength and made landfall in South Florida as a Category 1. So that's why we have these preparation plans in place, ready to hit the switch so we can go into preparation mode if, in fact, we get to that point. All right, next slide here. Unpopular opinion. You prepared for Irma, but you didn't go through a hurricane. I want people to remember that because Irma was close, but here in South Florida, and I'll just get a little bit closer in these contours, what I'm trying to illustrate, we had sustained tropical storm force winds with some hurricane gusts. Irma was a big deal for us. It was an especially big deal for folks who live in the Keys. But here, we got ready for Irma, but we did not go through a hurricane. And so I don't want our community members, your team members, your properties to think if we prepared for Irma and we were good, that is our standard. Irma could have done far more damage here in South Florida. Did we have power outages and utility outages, traffic lights down? Did we have problems? Yes, but it could have been so much worse. So Irma cannot be our benchmark for preparation or what to expect when there's a major hurricane nearby. All right, on to the seasonal forecast. The bottom line that these forecasts that you're going to hear about today and that you'll hear about in the coming weeks, these speak to the total activity in the Atlantic Basin. That means all of the Atlantic, the Caribbean, and across the Gulf of Mexico. That's a lot of square footage, square miles, square whatever you want, however you want to look at it. It's a lot of land or a lot of real estate. And so with that, we can't predict where the storms may make landfall. We're just predicting how many storms may occur in the season. Here in South Florida, a return period, that is, how often would we see a tropical depression, tropical storm, or hurricane come by? About 1 every 2.5 years. We've certainly cruised by that average, but the bottom line is we have to be prepared. Colorado State already predicting for the coming season in their April update, 17 named storms, 8 hurricanes, and 4 major hurricanes. Now, again, weigh that against the new average. I mean, either way we're looking at it, it's above average, an above average season. But do we know where these storms will go? We do not. But it's, again, another signal for us that it's going to be a busy season and we need to be very aware. Folks are interested about El Nino and La Nina. We're transitioning out of a La Nina into a neutral season. And I don't want you to get caught up about the graphs, but the middle line there, right in the middle, that's a 50% probability. Just as I finished this and came down here, they updated a new one. So that's just how science works sometimes. A new report was just issued late this morning, and we've got about a 50% to 60% likelihood that we're just going to stay in neutral conditions all summer, all storm season. What's that mean? Doesn't mean much. 2004 was a neutral season. So NOAA will release their seasonal forecast that will come out next Thursday morning. Remember, the NOAA forecasts will issue a range of total storms, not necessarily a specific number that you would see with Colorado State. All right, let's get to the good stuff as it pertains to you. Today is a great opportunity to come together to know your resources, maybe know your neighbors, and to maybe just peel back one layer and think about what your preparation looks like. And this includes the body of your property, the outside, the inside, the things that must be addressed immediately, like loose furniture on the pool deck, garbage cans, ashtrays, and whatnot in valet. What's your staffing protocol going to be before, during, and after a storm? Who's going to stay on site? Do you have those decisions made yet? I hope you do. You probably do. But it's a good time to think about that with your current staffing levels, which have likely changed and changed quite a bit in the last 12 months, and I hope that they're changing for the better with more staff members on board. But who's going to be around when it's time to put a plan into action? And then with that, I'll just say, once you have your plan, think about the safety of your team members and also of your guests. Because do you have that place, if you do stay on the beach at your property, do you have that place that you can get above ground level, but in an interior room of your property to be safe from the damaging and destructive winds that hurricanes bring? Also, think about your message that you will distribute to your team members and also to your guests to make them feel at ease, to know what your plan is and what the expectation is. As was mentioned by Wendy already and Alina, get your plans together now. Encourage your team members to assemble their preparation kits at home as well. The sooner we can boot up and organize now, it's one less thing that we have to worry about later, and then we can take that emotion out of it. We don't have to have that emotional reaction to getting ready for a storm because we're already ahead of the game because we have chosen to prepare. Communication and expectations, if you can express that to your team members or even your guests, depending on what the situation is, ahead of time, it may be easier to stand up your operation if, in fact, we have a direct impact here on Miami Beach or anywhere in South Florida. Checklist, any FEMA issued checklist is a good starting block. We have to customize these based on maybe our personal needs, our housing needs, our medical needs, but start with the basics. And we don't have to do it all in one swoop. We can divide these items up over the course of weeks so that by the beginning of August, we've acquired everything that we need to get through the season. One last thing, social media is just a bear. Life was just easier when I started in the business and we didn't have Facebook or Twitter. This was, I can't remember if this was 06 or 2014. That's just kind of how things go. I need to see how far back this was. Actually, it makes sense if it would have been 2014 because Twitter really wasn't going in 06. Maps like this just do such a disservice. We'd be better off meeting for drinks at the Betsy and playing darts than we would be to try to pick apart this map. This map is garbage, and it does nothing for the folks receiving it except to do what? To ramp up the emotion. There should be, the reaction to this should say delete or do not share or spam. And we spend, unfortunately, a lot of time trying to beat this message down rather than communicate the proper message. There's a lot of folks that do distribute messages to reach that emotional reaction just for sake of distribution, likes, clicks, and whatnot. So watch out for this. Go for verified users. We are so lucky to have the National Hurricane Center and the National Weather Service on the campus of FIU in West Miami-Dade. Great service. Whatever you're reading on Nextdoor, probably not the best bet. Trusted sources will get you through. That's just the way to go, but it's just amazing at how much will slip through the cracks. So make sure that you're well informed and you have the proper information to distribute to your team and to your employees and your guests. I am here to help. I love being a guest, but I also love the collaboration and the communication that can happen after today. So feel free to drop me a line. It was easier when I was in Nebraska, when the cattlemen would complain it was too cold, and the farmers would complain that it didn't rain enough. Those were the days. And I don't stand up here disconnected. I, too, am at home putting my shutters up. Here's a couple years ago, my daughter and I. Now, we were just surveying. We were prepared, but I was so interested in what the reaction was, and we went over to Target, and they were wiped out just in a day. So I'm not disconnected from it. I'm part of it. I'm with you. I've been there, and I just want to share my experience and my knowledge with you. So please feel free to drop me a line if there's anything I can do to help you individually or your properties get ready for the season. And again, thank you for attending today and being part of this, because I think the only way that we can get through a storm season, and if we have to endure an impact, is if we're all on the same page, we're able to rise back up together. The sooner we can get the beach in operation and your properties in operation, of course, the better and the stronger we will be. So thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Ryan. You're taller than you appear on TV, you know that. Look at this. We appreciate what you do. Channel 6, right?
Yes, sir.
NBC 6?
That's right.
What is it? Tell us the station.
WTVJ, NBC6.
There you go. Everybody watches.
Podcast voice.
Everybody watches that, right? Channel 6. Now we've got some breaking news today. Breaking news. We have a change, another change in the lineup. So Mikey from the county can't make it. So she's sending her boss, I think zoomed in, Frank Rollison. If you know Frank, he's the director of the county's emergency management. You know him, right? Huh? Pretty good dude. So Frank Rollison is going to pinch hit now. Frank, are you there? Is he zoomed in?
I'm here.
You got it.
You see me? We're good?
Go for it.
Okay. Well, good afternoon, everybody. Mickey's a little under the weather, and so she delegated this to me with a series of slides that she's put together. So we'll run through them and see where we go. It's all right. So, well, that's true. Okay, we can go to the next slide. All right, so that's a little something about what our things that we do here in the Emergency Operations Center, part of emergency management. Pretty simple. Let's go. We can go on to the next one. All right, I think this is kind of a neat slide, because when we think about emergency management in South Florida, we think about hurricanes. In fact, there are people that say, you know, you guys only work 4 or 5 months out of the year. What do you do the rest of the time? Well, we know what we did for the last year. We've been at level 2 in the EOC since March 15th, the Ides of March last year for the pandemic. You know, starting out with nobody really knew what we were doing at that point as a nation, as a community, but we knew it wasn't good. But we were involved with first with PPE for everybody throughout the county, not just the fire and police, but the hospitals, nursing homes, ALFs, and that type of thing. And we're still providing PPE to the testing centers and the vaccination centers, a huge amount of material that goes through us for that. And the thing that we look at when we think about these different events is that they're not singular in nature. So we're still in the midst of a pandemic, and we're going into our second hurricane season with a pandemic still giving us fits. We were able to do the Super Bowl last year, and that was one of the nice events that we do. But right now, as you look around this graphic, we have a nuclear power plant here that we spend a lot of time preparing for something that we hope we'll never have to deal with. And the terrorism in the lower left-hand corner is just now a part of our life around the world. We're an international city. We spend a lot of time now with the FBI, the Florida Department of Law Enforcement, Homeland Security, our local police departments, which will be the first in, just like our firefighters, when one of these incidents happen, as we know from New York. It will be our local people that will be going in. And we spend a lot of time preparing for some of the worst scenarios that we play with now when we come together with the police and the military, the National Guard, and the military that will eventually be that type of operation. that hopefully we never have to deal with here, but we need to be prepared for it. So we spend a lot of time with that. So there's a lot of things that we deal with. Mass migrations. We had a huge drill a couple of years ago, a mass migration drill with the Coast Guard and the Border Patrol, and it pointed up a lot of areas that we needed to tighten up and prepare for. So the wildland fires down here in our part of the state are, we get the grass fires, and we've just had some of those down south this last week, but nothing like they faced in the mid part of the state back in the 90s with those fires that they had. Okay, we can go on to the next one. All right, so we say know your zone, and these are the storm surge zones that I think people that have been here for a while are kind of familiar with the A, B, C, D, and E areas as we work our way from the coastline inward. And we try to tell people to know their zone. And one of the things that we have proposed here to some state legislators is to put your zone on your driver's license so that you know your storm surge zone. Because by pretty much by zip codes, although these don't exactly go by zip code, still it gives you a pretty good idea if you're in zone A along the red portion there, or B or C, or where you actually are. And it's important that you know that, because if we have to give evacuation orders, we're going to do it by zones or partial zones, or like Irma, we took part of the zones down lower to the south, and we come up with a hybrid when the evacuation zones are put out. The next slide. So this slide talks about the greatest threat is the water. And we say, run from water and hide from wind. And when you look at the new buildings that are built, and the people that are building their homes now and changing out their homes are putting in the impact windows, and it gives you certainly a higher level of security. It gives you a higher level of protection from regular windows in the event of a hurricane or that type of an event. But they are not designed for water. They're designed for wind load. So when you look at, when people say to you, hey, I got impact windows, those impact windows will just go away if you have tons of water coming upon them. So we tell people that when we get the models that we run, when we get the information from the National Weather Service and the Hurricane Center, and we get what's called the P-surge, and we run our models, we now begin to see what kind of storm surge we're going to be facing, the potential, and what areas it's going to hit in. And then we start to make our plans for if we're going to have to pull the trigger on evacuations. Next slide. And this is just something kind of, dramatic, showing you that you have something that's built up and you think everything is good, but depending on what the storm surge is, how big a hit you're going to hit, not just with rising water, but the surge itself with the weight of that water coming across as it comes ashore. Next slide. People look at the categories and they look at what happened in their area. I can remember back with Andrew, we lost our home. We were out of it for about a year. We were down in Old Cutler, just where that ship came ashore. If you remember, we were just a little bit west of that. And I would talk with people that say they went through Andrew and it was really no big deal. And I said, well, where'd you live? Well, we were up on the Broward County line. We had some trees go down. Well, you know what? You need to go a little further south and take a look at CBS block homes that were just leveled from that storm. Andrew was a fairly dry storm and a very quickly moving storm, and we were very fortunate that it made that hook that it did. It came across South Dade rather than coming through downtown Miami. Because I can tell you some of these older buildings that we have, even the high rises, are not to the code that is now required with the wind load. And we saw some of that in some of the later storms, even with Andrew, that what downtown was like being on the skirts of the eye of that storm. I was a fire marshal at that time in the city of Miami. And I remember with the city manager, we went out afterwards and took a drive through downtown. We came up on a bank that the windows were out, and we went into the bank, and there was cash all over the place that had been left in the drawers, I guess, for the tellers. And I remember with the manager, and we had a couple of police officers, we went around and gathered up all the cash and put it in a bag. And I never saw that bag again. I don't exactly know what happened to it, but I think it did make it back to the bank when things were squared away. But it just shows you how big a hit you can get. And just depending on where you are, Irma was a perfect example of what we went through there with a lot of the water and the wind that we had, the roof damage that we had, and like was being said, it was a tropical storm with some sustained gusts, but not much. So, you know, people die from category 1s, and they think it's not a big deal, but it just depends on the situation that you're in. Let's go to the next slide. And these are the things that you hear. I've never had flooding in my neighborhood, so I won't evacuate. And the reality of that is that you didn't have flooding this time, but you can have flooding next time. Or the tropical storm category, and storms are no big deal, 1s are no big deal. I think just as a result of Irma, what we hear now is that we evacuated, and we ran out of gas, and we didn't have any food, and the people that stayed behind did just fine. The storm went around us, and next time I'm not going to leave. And when we issue an evacuation order, it is designed for you to relocate out of a storm surge zone. It doesn't mean you have to get on I-95 or the turnpike and head north. But that's what people do. And of course, we know the fuel situation, and people wait to the last minute, yada, yada, and we end up with those problems. Let's have the next slide. Oh, we're still on hour, okay. And the next one, I thought that was automatic. That's not automatic. I'm getting, all right, let's go to the next slide. I'm getting trained here as we go. All right, so in the hotel preparations, hopefully you all have your COOP plans, your continuity of operations that deal with the preparations ahead of time, what you're going to be doing when you hunker down during the storm, and how afterwards you continue and how you go forward with whatever your damages are that you have. A lot of places have generators. We find throughout the city that there were no requirements that the generators operate elevators. They usually meet the minimum requirements when these buildings are built. Life safety, whether if you have the lighting that you have to have, if you have a smoke removal system in the building, it has to be able to run that, the emergency lights, that type of thing, but not the air conditioning and not the elevators. Now, as buildings are built, a lot of them now have come with some of those other issues that may be required by the code. Back when I was involved with that, they were not required. Whether the new building code requires it or not, I don't know. But you have that situation. If you got BII, business interruption insurance, make sure that you go through the process of what your policies require as far as documenting the losses that you have, whether it be by receipts or what your normal occupancy is, so that you can have the backup documentation to deal with that. And that's also important that the Small Business Administration comes out with loans that they have that you can qualify for, that you're able to show the documentation that you need to be able to tap into those funds. And we have people here in emergency management in the Office of Emergency Management that can assist you when we have these type of events, even when it's not a hurricane. But we've had some storms here recently that if a area in the county qualifies, like we had one in Medley, and Medley qualified for the small business loans, and that qualification or that approval for that one little community made it available for the entire county. And so when you think it's not important to report these things and put your documentation together, you can have an impact on the entire county and the entire businesses in the county for that help. And the memorandum of understanding, MOUs, Wendy talked about the hotels that are inland. If you haven't already, now is certainly the time to reach out to these hotels and enter into these agreements. It will give you a formal way of being able to have a place to move some of your guests to ahead of time. It'll be set up, and you're not hunting at the last moment for that. And I provided a list, a map with the hotels that Wendy has, that I'm sure she can get out if she hasn't gotten out to you already. The non-congregate sheltering that was talked about a lot last year through the state, FEMA, will take place again this year. However, they have restricted it strictly now to people that have COVID or have been exposed to COVID and need to be isolated away from their family or as a family unit. So it has been lessened quite a bit to what it was last year. Next slide. Okay, so here are some, we have here, and Jenny is usually the representative that we have here in the EOC. As for the Greater Miami, Convention Bureau, the representative here. We help the businesses, we help everybody after the fact with relocation and so forth. And the airport, if we keep in mind, the airline's got to get the planes out, and they will fly them out with people as long as they can fly out of here. And so it's not like there's a lot of time when this storms are bearing down on us, because they will not leave the planes here in Miami. They're going to fly them out. And sometimes you're not going to have a choice where you can go, but you can get out of here. And that's certainly what we recommend, that the people that are staying at your places, we do not want them going to the hurricane shelters that we have. We have, I don't know, that may be on another slide too. Let's go to another slide and see if it even talks about that. Yeah, we don't want to evacuate the hotel guests to our evacuation centers. And there's several reasons for that. We have a total of 84 maximum that we have an agreement with the schools, the public schools, to use their facilities. We can house roughly 112,000 people, and that is tight. That's a worst case scenario. If we were to have a Dorian coming down upon us, that we know we have to have something bad coming, we can get to that point. If we add hotel guests on top of that, we're not going to have the space. We also have the capability under the code that we can commandeer government buildings throughout the county if we have to do that. And we have a list of those, and we've reached out to different municipalities and throughout the county with the county buildings, that if we get to that point and we have to take some of those buildings, it's better to get in there than to be in these evacuation zones. Next, and this is just, I think this was, it is during Irma with everybody trying to get out of town. And by the way, you see the other lanes are nothing. This idea of reversing the lanes, the FDOT has abandoned that program. So I know there were issues. There were some accidents that took place throughout the state with people entering an exit and having a head-on collision. So that program has been abandoned, as I understand it, and is strictly, there's only a couple of ways to get out. The two worst places in the United States to evacuate during a storm is South Florida and New Orleans. They're the worst to get people out. Next slide, please. All right, this is a little graphic that shows you, we know approximately what the population is in each of the zones. So in risk area A, we've got 72,000 and so forth, and you can see. As we start to order the evacuations, we start with A and B, or part of B and part of C, that type of thing. And you can see the numbers compound as you go. If you add the 72 to the 420, you've now got 500,000 people you have to get out, etc. We automatically, even with a category 1, we evacuate the tourists to get out and the mobile homes. So there's 35,000 right off the bat. And when you look at the clearance times on the right-hand side, that is based upon the last person that's within zone A to get out, because that's when the rain is starting to fall or the wind is picked up. We're looking at 26 hours just to evacuate zone A. And you can see the amount of time as it takes as we go to these different zones. And when we issue the evacuation orders, it's usually a blue sky day and people are not moving. And that's why we have the problems. It gets to the end of moving people. It gets difficult to move them. You can see the total number of people, 1.5. We have a county now of close to 3 million. So roughly half of what is in Miami-Dade County lives in the evacuation zones. Next slide. We ask you, when we say evacuate or we say relocate out of those zones, the shelters that we have are really the place of last resort. They all have generators, but they don't have generators to run the AC. We have 4 medical evacuation centers that the AC does run. We have about 4,000 people in Dade County that are on the call down list for being relocated, special needs people that have to be moved before a storm. About 1,000 of those go to hospitals, 1,000, 1,200. And the rest go to these 4 evacuation centers. The CDC says now that our space that we have is not approved because of COVID. So we have reached out to several other facilities now to try to come up with some other places if we have to pull the trigger on moving these people. These are the first people that we do move, and we wait until the absolute last minute when we have to move them. It is traumatic for many of them. They don't do well when you make these moves, and some of them don't survive the move. And so we take it very seriously, and I know during Dorian, we came down to a Saturday and a Sunday that we sat here with the mayor at that time, with Carlos Jimenez and Chief Kemp and myself and Charles, and with a representative from Weather Service. And we debated to move them on Saturday or Sunday. And it was absolutely Sunday morning was the last time we could start moving them. And fortunately that night, Saturday night, the storm made that break to the north. Otherwise, we would have been moving those people. And like I say, it's not a fun deal for them, for sure. Next slide. Okay, so listen, the list of what to bring, we put out the hurricane guide. It's going out now. It goes out every year to every home in Dade County. And they're with the post office now being distributed. We can provide those to the hotels. We can provide them to the to whoever needs them or wants them. We can provide boxes of those so that you can have them to give out to people. But it's the basic things. One of the things I'll recommend, they used to say bring games and everything's for the kids. They're all on tablets now. They're all doing their Minecraft and all that. Chargers, don't forget to bring chargers with you so you can charge these tablets and these computers up, because we don't have the capability within these facilities to provide that. Certainly medications, food, if you have specialties with food, that type of thing. These schools that we contract with, they have food on board all the time for 3 days. And we provide freeze-dried food for 4 more days. You look at Dorian, it hung over for a week, 5 days it hung over there. So to think that we're going to be, with how these storms have increased in intensity and how they have grown, and how often they're coming, et cetera, that it's not beyond the realm that we're going to spend a couple of days in a shelter. Irma was a day and a half, and it was a tropical storm. So you got to take in consideration, you usually get in there the day before landfall, and then you've got that day, and then if there's an extension, you're in there for a while. So it's not the best place to be, but it's better than being tied to a tree or being out in your car on the road. Let's go to the next slide. This is the social distancing thing. Typically in our shelters, when we fill them, it's 20 square feet, 5 by 4, barely enough space to lie down. And then we can go to 12 to 15 square feet where you're basically standing up if we have to pack it in that tight. Our plan now, and was last year, and same with this year, if we're looking at a category 1 or 2, we will open up double the number of centers that we normally would, and we will spread people out as far as we can. If we get to the point that we have to bring in more people, then it's going to be tight. We will provide PPE. We have kits for every person that comes in that has a sort of like a starter kit with masks and hand sanitizer and gloves and that type of thing. When you come to a shelter, we screen you. We're not allowed to ask whether or not you are vaccinated. That's a HIPAA violation that we cannot get around. If people tell us, we will ask if you are COVID positive, are you sick now. If they tell us they have COVID, we have worked out with the school that we can now use classrooms as well as the large areas to separate families or people that tell us that they have an issue. That doesn't mean we aren't going to get people that, are asymptomatic, don't have temperature, and still are infected. Next slide. We're going to require wearing a face mask while you're in the evacuation center, and that has now come under question with the new governor's order. We're exploring that with the county attorney's office as to whether we can require that. That's our intent. As far as the hand sanitizer and social distancing, we'll do the best we can with that. We'll supply hand sanitizer, so forth. We've worked out different feeding schedules so that if we have a large group of people in these shelters, the feeding will go on probably all day long as we keep people separated. And so it's not going in large groups to eat. But the face covering right now, our intent is to require that unless we're advised otherwise by legal. Next slide. Okay, so the vaccination programs are going on. This is a little bit about, trying to get as many as vaccinated. We're in better shape this year than we were last year, obviously. Uber has provided free rides if you go online with the county to sign up for a vaccination. They will, there's a place there that you can click on if you need a ride, and you can get a free ride with Uber on that. Next slide. All right, that first bullet there is incorrect. It's not by appointment only any longer. That just changed from when Mickey put these together. So now all of our sites throughout the county are walk up. You can register. The only thing that does for you, which is a help, is that if you're pre-registered, when you show up, you'll move a little faster through the process, but it's not required. Our 3 sites right now are the Homestead Sports Complex, Tropical Park, and Zoo Miami. We are branching out now with a lot of pop-up sites, and that brings us to the hotels and working with Wendy. We have had a lot of hotels now that have sent us their requests to have their personnel vaccinated. And I know we haven't gotten to everybody, even a call to set up site visits, but we will do that. They're out today at a couple of hotels. I'm not sure where, but I know the team is out there looking. I know next week we go to the Eden Rock and the Fontainebleau. They're going to do something together. Those hotels are going to do their staff together. And then some of the hotels are allowing the smaller hotels to, with their personnel, to do it together with them. And then we have the real small places that got 10 employees, 15 employees, and we're going to use our mobile units that we had been doing homebound vaccinations. The state has taken that program over with the homebounds, and now we'll be able to use this unit to try to hit some of these places, 2 or 3 places a day. It is very time consuming, not only with registering the people, giving the vaccine is the quickest part, but then we have to stay with these people for 15, 20 minutes, observe them to make sure there's no immediate reaction, anaphylactic reaction to the vaccine. So when you've got 15 people or so, and as they come through, you can see you're at a place for a while before you can move on to the next place. But the phone number is there on the slide if you want to register. I can tell you starting on Monday, we will have the 17th, we will have a site downtown at the DuPont Plaza, that's how old I am, at the DuPont building. They have graciously allowed us to use their facility at no cost for a week. So the 17th through the 23rd, be a walk-up site in downtown, and it'll be from 8 in the morning to 8 at night, so that those people that are in the condos and apartment buildings throughout downtown along the boulevard can walk over and get a vaccination. We'll be doing Pfizer, which requires two shots. And so 3 weeks from then, we'll be back at the DuPont building again for the second go round. Again, it's walk up, and we're encouraging those that, obviously have not had the opportunity, but want to get a vaccination, that this is an opportunity to do that. We're done trying to convince those that don't want it. They don't want it, they don't believe in it, whatever, and that's going to be, their beliefs. But we want to make it as available as we can to those that have not been able to have the time, or it hasn't been convenient enough for them to take advantage of it. And that's why we're putting that site downtown. See what we got for the next slide. And this is talking about the hotel vaccination program. So again, there's Michelle's email is on there that you can take down. Wendy has sent it out to everybody. A lot of the emails come to me, which is no problem at all. They come to me, I respond to them, and I send it over to Michelle so they can get in touch with you and start to figure out what we can do to get you vaccinated. So be patient. There's a lot of calls. We had a lot of restaurants. We've had some bars that want us to, and we're in to come by and try to vaccinate people. Now with the change in the governor's orders, the everybody that's in Florida basically is eligible to get a vaccine because the order says you're a Florida resident or you're here in Florida to provide goods or services to help the economy of the state. And certainly those staying at a hotel are doing just that. And no longer do you have to provide any type of identification that says that you are in Florida or you're a resident of Florida. It's strictly verbal now. You can say, yeah, I live in Florida, and you give me a Michigan driver's license, and that's fine. We do need ID to put you into the system because every vaccination is recorded. There's a number with them, and it goes into Florida Shots so that every single vaccination is accounted for, and they know who got that vaccination. So we're in trying to get the hotels done, and if you're interested, you know, you can send it directly to Michelle, or you can send it to me, and we will get to you eventually. Next slide. We got another one, or is that? Oh, this is okay. Some stuff after the storm about price gouging and your contractors, dealing with your insurance companies, and dealing with there is assistance that comes from FEMA also, but you need to have everything documented. And so, you know, I can only tell you that you go through what your normal procurement procedures are, if you can, during an emergency. A lot of that is waived, but you need documentation both for your insurance company, obviously, and if you're going to get into these programs with FEMA for private assistance, which you can apply for, you're going to need documentation of what your costs were, what the situations were. Certainly take all the pictures you can take with your damages and that type of thing. And so you've got the documentation. It gets tougher every year to collect, not only from the insurance companies, but FEMA tightens it up every year. Andrew was the last one where the gates were open. They're not open anymore. Everything is very tough to get reimbursed. Okay, next slide. That's just a health. We'll advise you within here. The water, and people go out and buy tons of water. You know, I guess there's some validity in that if the water system goes bad. But generally speaking, our water system here in the county does very well, and it is safe to drink. And we put the word out through the notices that way. Food in the refrigerators, if you've been without power, that should be pitched. And I think we've got something on the, let's go to the next slide. Is again, damages, taking pictures and all that. Stay out of the water, the power lines is down, the holes are deeper than what you think they are. People drive into them and think they're on a street, and they drive into a canal. And you know, one of the biggest problems we have after the storms is all the chainsaw injuries that happen with people that run out and bought a chainsaw and never run one before in their life, and we start having problems with that. But you know, it is what it is. Let's go to the next slide. Okay, the hurricane guides are out, and I won't go over this, but there's a lot of information in those hurricane guides, and they're certainly available to you and to your hotels or your guests. We can provide those to you too. Next slide. All right, this is an app that everybody should have on their phone. This is Ready Miami-Dade. It's free, and it is right to the minute. What we are doing in the EOC is on this app. So if we're talking about evacuation orders, the current order is on there. If we're talking about what zone you're in, the map is on there. You can put your address in, it'll tell you exactly what zone you're on. It'll tell you what evacuation centers open. It'll tell you the bus stops where you can, if people need to go to a bus to get picked up to go to a shelter, there are stops throughout the county that are designated for that, that the buses will come and so forth. So that's a great one to have. The evacuation centers, what's open, what's not open. Just because you went to an evacuation center the last time doesn't mean that's one that's going to be open this time. And that's what happened during Irma. People went to where they normally went and they weren't open. And we ended up with all these people that were out in the sun. It was very hot, no water. We had no plans on opening those because they were in a flood zone area because of where the storm was coming from, up from the south instead of from the east. And the upshot of that was the mayor, Carlos Jimenez, said, hey, get staff down there and open them, and we'll worry about moving people later if we have to. But this is a great app, and we encourage everybody to have that on their phone. Next slide. And that's about the guide. I won't spend time going through that, but there's all the goodies that are in there. It's very simple and very important. One of the things that's in the guide that we started, I think last year was the first year, but we have these door hangers in there so that after the storm, if you're in a home or even in a condo, you hang these door hangers on your door. If everything's okay inside, you hang it with the green side out. And if you're having a problem that's an emergency inside that home or that building, you hang the red side out. We have drone teams that will be flying after the storms into these areas that are hardest hit. And they will fly up and down the streets even before we can get crews in because of the debris. And any of those red tags that are hanging, will drop a pin on that with the GPS. It'll send a message back to the EOC. And we'll be able to send walk-in teams to that particular address and see what the problem is. So, you need to get hold of one of these guides, and if you live in the county, it'll be coming to your house. Next slide. Okay, so again, this is an emphasis on listening to us in the EOC, what the instructions that we're giving out. Power restoration is, that's paramount with everybody, and we realize that. There are different tiers of safety and who gets it first, and that's all worked out with Florida Power and Light and us here in emergency management. And we try to get the power back on as quick as we can. All right, next, I think that's it, right? That's it, and a big thank you. Any questions or anything in the chat or anything? Turn it back over to you, Bill, and however you want to go from here.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I've been doing this for a while. That's the most comprehensive report I've seen. Frank, let's hear it for Frank.
Thank you, Bill.
Okay, we got one more speaker, and Wendy, you can introduce our closing speaker.
Thank you. Thank you, Frank, for all the work you're doing with our hotels. We really appreciate it. So I also want to recognize Miami Beach Fire Chief Virgil Fernandez for his attendance today, and also Juan Meses, Emergency Manager. We really appreciate all of your help. City of Miami Beach Emergency Management is a long-standing partner of our hospitality and tourism industry and joins us every year in preparing our hotel industry and hospitality industry, all the businesses and the residents, for the upcoming storm season. It gives us great pleasure to introduce our partner, our friend, Sherry Holbert-Lipner, Division Administrator, Deputy Emergency Manager, City of Miami Beach Emergency Management. That was a long, great, well-deserved title.
Okay, no, that's fine. I get to play weather person. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for hanging in there. You've received some really, really excellent information today. Thank you, Ryan, always engaging. Frank had a lot of information for you. I'm going to try not to be repetitive and give you a lot of good information. I want to make sure that we're all on the same page. We can go to the, there we go, let's start our little hurricane spinning. I just want everyone to understand the serious nature of the threats that we face. We live in paradise, and it's absolutely wonderful to be here all the time. And all it takes is one storm to really mess things up for us. But with the proper training, the proper information, the kinds of things that you got today is really, really, it's a good start to get you prepared. And our hope is that hurricanes, no matter how intense, will just be a minor inconvenience for our tourist industry. And then we can all get back to the business of making our beautiful paradise available for the whole world to enjoy. I'll try to be as brief as possible today. I want to make sure that hotel management and the City of Miami Beach are on the same page as far as best practices, ensuring safety of your guests, the safety of your staff, and the safety of your property. We've got some other considerations to talk about. So we already talked about the zones. That's what Frank had showed us. He did a really good job. I'm going to focus just on the City of Miami Beach because I am the City of Miami Beach. Zone A and Zone B, the entire City of Miami Beach, as far as we're concerned, is located in Zone B. So if you hear that the county is issuing an evacuation order for Zone B, we are talking about the City of Miami Beach. South Point and Fisher Island are in Zone A, but as far as our city officials are concerned, and if we're asking people to evacuate, if you're in South Beach and they haven't said Zone A, but they do say Zone B, we're probably going to ask you to leave. Now, the deal with hurricanes, whoops, there we go. This here saying that evacuations are likely for Category 3 or higher, that's not exactly a scientific statement. As Ryan had pointed out earlier, there are a lot of considerations, and a lot of the reasons that we don't even call them evacuation zones, we call them storm surge planning zones, because it's about the level of water in storm surges. Hurricane Florence was only a Category 1, but there was a lot of storm surge damage because there was a lot of water that was left in its wake. And chances are, in a Cat 3 or higher, we will likely evacuate, but the most important thing to do is to listen to the directions from the county. At the county EOC, as Frank had told you, all the public officials and weather officials, your professionals from the National Weather Service and the National Hurricane Center confer to come up with, they make the tough decisions. They look at all their options. And if an evacuation order is determined, it's going to come from the county. So listen to the orders that come from the county. It will come from the county mayor. The first issuance of an evacuation order is going to come from the county mayor. You may see it again through local television stations, hear it on the radio, see it on official social media, which we'll talk about in a minute, but it will initially come from the county. No one else has the authority to call for an evacuation. Here in the City of Miami Beach, city officials will confer at our Emergency Operations Center, and we also have an alternate Emergency Operations Center if we do have to evacuate, but we are in direct communication with the county. We talk to Frank all the time, and he is just as engaging all the time. The county will ask for the evacuation of visitors first. So a lot of thought goes into the consideration. You saw that, that chart that came from Florida Department of Emergency Management about how much time it takes for us to evacuate the county. We also have to consider Monroe County before us. Monroe County almost always evacuates during any category of a storm. We've got to consider that. There are no there are no official initially opened evacuation centers in Monroe County. They go to the southernmost evacuation center that's in Miami-Dade County. So the county will call for evacuation of visitors first to give our guests enough time to make contingency arrangements. The expectations that visitors are asked to either return home or find some other arrangements. That's where the mutual aid comes in, and the memos of understanding and the agreements that you have with properties that are not on Miami Beach. We really want to clear out our hotels early so that our businesses and our residents also have time to follow the evacuation. And Frank went into great detail about the arrangements that can be made with the airports and the assistance that the Bureau provides. We can also provide some assistance, or at least get you to the right place. So as a last resort, and they went into great detail about the evacuation centers, your guests can make their way to an evacuation center. Nobody recommends that. They're having a wonderful time. It's not the way to remember your wonderful vacation here in the city of Miami Beach. So we would, we truly encourage getting people home, telling them that we welcome them back as soon as the sun is shining again. The most difficult thing to do is to relay that information to your guests, because as anyone knows who's been here, usually right before a major storm, the weather is as beautiful as it could possibly be, because all of the clouds get sucked up into wherever the storm is. There's not a cloud in the sky. It's a sunny day. It's gorgeous. If I were here, I would want to be, if I were here, like I'm not here, but I would want to be out on the beach enjoying the sunshine and enjoying the weather. But, and that's where messaging comes in for your guests. One suggestion might be to shut down some of your amenities in your facility in preparation, so that guests are encouraged to pack up, get out of here, find a place to go that is safe for them to either weather the storm or make arrangements to go home and come back. So before the storm, we've got some things to think about in COVID. The goal is always safety, no matter what. We've been through this for a full year now, so we all know that you know, all the preparations and all of the considerations we make under COVID are the same now as they were last year. So we've had some experience doing this. Give yourself a little bit more time and give yourself a little bit more space to get people out of here and deal with cleanup. After the storm, one of the things you might have to bear in mind is if there is significant impact, utilities like FPL may take a little bit longer to respond, and that is because of the situation under COVID. Essentially, our plans have not changed, and your plans should not change under COVID. It's just a matter of continuing to obey social distancing, mask wearing if it's relevant, and all the sanitation information. So I also took the opportunity on this slide to remind you that the CDC has additional information, and they're updating it as far as hurricanes are concerned. So if you do a keyword search under CDC for hurricanes, you should find that information. So your responsibilities in hotel management are to perform a risk assessment, to develop your emergency plans, as everyone has said here today. Make sure that all employees know the plan. Share the plan, practice the plan with your employees. If you need some assistance holding a drill or an exercise, or need some advice from us at the City of Miami Beach, we're here to help you if you'd like to do that. My community outreach person, Irene Valinas, is actually here today. Some of you may have communicated with her in the past about establishing your ERTs. So what is your ERT, your emergency response team? Each of you should consider appointing 5 team members. We can, if you're in a larger property, accept more than 5 team members, but right now we accept up to 5. They're appointed by management. They're designated as trusted individuals that understand the property and understand how to get the property back up and running should you experience major impacts from a storm. For management designates an individual, they're the go-to team in the event of an emergency. They represent the various departments. It's a good idea to have, as you can see here, the people who are on your emergency response team are familiar with your disaster plan. They're able to perform a damage assessment, so you're definitely going to need people from engineering. And also to consider is having somebody who has the checkbook. You need somebody in finance on this team as well, because if the payroll system is down, that person knows the contingency planning. If you need to do emergency purchases, emergency resource requests, it's got to come through your finance people. So it's a really good idea. Also a good idea is to have your guest relations people, because messaging to your guests before and after and welcoming people back, very, very important to have these people on your staff. So how do you create this? We offer training. In the city of Miami Beach, you can call us at 673-7736. We'll schedule a training for your staff. We can accommodate up to 35 participants per class, but we offer lots of these classes over time. We are just getting back to rescheduling them after a year off for obvious reasons. But you can start to give us a call, and I know we have some people in queue who were supposed to be scheduled for last year. It's changed a little bit from our previous offering. It is still a 24-hour total course, which I know sounds crazy. It's not it's not from 7 a.m. till 7 a.m. the next morning. We can break it up into modules. It is broken up into modules. There are offerings online as well. Some of the bits and pieces of this class are offered online. There are parts of it, though, that do require in-person training. We are COVID careful, and we do provide this training with social distancing in mind. So if you're interested in this program, you can give us a call, 305-673-7736. You can email us at DEM, that's for Division of Emergency Management, DEM@miamibeachfl.gov, and I'll have a slide up at the end of this presentation with that information as well. Some of the modules that are part of this training include disaster preparedness, team organization, and the other things that you see here on the slide. This is only some of the things that are offered in this training. Once your staff is certified, they're prepared to bring this information to the rest of the staff. And as I said, if you have your 5 top people that are trained and have this certification, first of all, in order to be a part of the ERT, you have to have this ERT training. And one of the most desirable reasons and this is the whole reason I know that you wait for me at the end of this presentation, is that your hotel, if you have your ERT, the members of your ERT are individuals that are allowed back in the city should we have to initiate our re-entry plan. So if we've evacuated the city and all the entry points are closed, if you are a member of the ERT, you are granted entry back into the city at our checkpoints. And how do you go about doing that? If you go to our website, www.miamibeachfl.gov, you go to the City Hall page and go to Emergency Management. There should be a button that says Condo and Hotel Preparations or something like that. It will bring you to this page, the re-entry after evacuation. And when you click that bar down at the bottom, that pops up. That's your form. If some of you may remember that years ago you used to send a representative to our office and we would fill out the forms and we would hand you a hang tag. You no longer get a hang tag. We have abandoned the hang tag program. All you have to do is fill out this information and click submit. You will receive a confirmation that your information has been submitted. If any of this information changes, please send us an update. All you have to do is go back and refill out the same form, or send an email to us saying, this person is no longer part of the ERT. This is the next person who will replace them. We will confirm with you. Please don't do this as a storm is approaching. Our IT department is great. It's just like any other IT department. Sometimes information that comes through on Wednesday may not have gone through and been completely available until Friday. Don't wait until a storm is bearing down to make any changes or even submit your initial application. All of the information that gets sent in this form gets sent to a spreadsheet that is made available to our law enforcement officers who are going to be at the checkpoints on their laptops or their tablets. It would help a great deal if you have your employees who are part of the ERT bring proof of their identification, proof of employment with your facility. So it makes things easier in letting people through. Our reentry plan is currently going through a little bit of an update. Our June commission meeting, they're going to address some of our processes with the reentry plan, but it's basically going to look like this. We take a phased approach. The first people let in to the city, should we evacuate and shut down our checkpoints, or our entryways, are the public safety and emergency crews. That is done for your safety, for everyone's safety. We make sure that the roadways are clear, that there aren't any collapsed structures or any other hazards that are going to really impair getting our city back up and running in a timely manner. We don't think that we have to hold everybody back because we have a chip on our shoulder and we just want to keep everybody out of the city. We want to make sure that everything is clean and clear and ready for you to get back in. Not perfectly clean, but at least safe. So level 2 is infrastructure. In most cases, hotel employees who have registered as our ERT are going to be allowed in under tier 2. But again, this is not an exact science. It depends on the situation and it depends on a lot of circumstances. So please listen, pay attention to information that is put out from official sources at the city as to who we're letting in at the moment. If you're not let in under level 2, you will certainly be let in under level 3 when we open it up to all businesses on Miami Beach. And finally, once everything is clear, we will let the general public back in, and that will be our guests. Speaking of trusted sources include your local television stations. If you only listen to Ryan, I think you're pretty good. Channel 6, NBC 6. He will be working around the clock when a storm hits. And the official social media sources of Miami-Dade County, City of Miami Beach, the Bureau, the Hotel Association, and not your Aunt Edna who heard something from her neighbor who heard something from her daughter-in-law. Also, the city provides MB Alert, and our MB Alert system, I would encourage all of you to subscribe to this, send a text of MB Alert to 888-777. That's the simple way to get on MB Alert. You will only receive texts from the city under MB Alert that are very severe situations, emergency situations. We're not telling you about the sale at the Botanical Garden. We're not telling you about events or anything like that. It is strictly for emergency situations, so we will not blow up your phone unless we seriously have to. So that's 888-777 and the words MB Alert. And I tried to fly through this as quickly as possible. If you have any questions for us at the City of Miami Beach, you can phone us at 305-673-7736. Chances are Irene Valinas will be answering the phone. She will also be answering the emails at dem@miamibeachfl.gov. And we love to partner with the Bureau and with the Hotel Association. We have a really, really great relationship with all of you, and we'd like to continue that. And I'd like to thank you very, very much for all of your attention today. Have a great day.
Can you hear me? Once again, this has been the best content I've ever had at these. So it's gone on a couple minutes long, but Wendy and I want to thank you. And thank you, Ryan, for waiving your fee this time. You waive it every time, don't you? Thank you to your wife. Also, where's Freddie Peterson and his team? Freddie, please say a couple of words, because unless Freddie gets to say a word, he doesn't waive the fee for this. So, and we have cookies. Susie, if we want to get out of here, you have the passes. If not, we have to break the gate down. So if you want to get out of here, oh, you have them? Okay. Freddie, you going to waive the fee again? Absolutely. Freddie Peterson, let's hear from him.
Good afternoon, everybody, folks that are here in person and obviously on Zoom. We always say that the health, safety, security of the venue and all who enter it is our number one priority. So we live that all day, every day. Emergency preparedness, we prepare and we prepare and we prepare 24/7. So incredibly important. And I think a little bit of that, if you see the trolleys here on Miami Beach, it says that hurricane season, I believe, is 6 months long, but preparedness is year round. So I think that that in and of itself, keeping that in mind for not only hurricane season, but you can have a lot of rain in the matter of minutes. So just being fully prepared on a daily basis is incredibly important. But really thank you to the GMCVB, the GMBHA, and of course the City of Miami Beach for all the tremendous work that they do, first responder community, and the hotel community for all that you do to keep us prepared and keep us safe. So thank you so much. Thank you.
Also, we were here last Thursday. Most of us were here. Allie, thank you for production last Thursday and today. The Bureau team, Rolando is here. Ginny is here. And, Frank Rollison talked about the EOC. That's out at Doral off of 36th Street and 87th Avenue. And the Bureau has a desk there. It's number 34. And generally, Bill and Ginny are there. But as we evolve going forward, there'll be a Bill and Ginny 2.0 going forward, but we're very proud of that desk. When the EOC opens, your bureau is there. Ginny, right? And Ginny's still part of the family. So with that said, we also want to give a shout out to Sonia Fong here on the meeting side. Thank you. Stand up. What convention sales does during a hurricane is stays connected with all of our business, all of our convention business, whether it be in the convention center or in hotels, whether it's future business, present business, or anything, that team. And technically at the Bureau, all of our stuff is plug and play. Our computers, they're plug and play, and our phones now plug and play. So when we have to evacuate, in the case if we have to, we can independently operate from anywhere in the world because of our equipment. So, and we have our media relations, our global media relations under Rolando. You want to say 5 seconds about what, 6 seconds, but let's hear it for Rolando.
I did want to reemphasize the partnership with the city and, of course, with Freddie and the team here. Thank you so much, and Michael and others. But, global media relations, communicating with our meeting planners and our customers is critical. Under Susie's leadership and our social media team, we're also communicating with the visitors at large and keeping them up to date on all the things that are changing moment to moment, kind of like what we're doing right now with all the COVID guidelines. So wanted to thank everyone, and, of course, Heather. She's been an amazing partner, so thanks all around. And to the Zoomers out there.
That was 7 seconds. Now, last Thursday, Heather was not here, so she didn't get to, no. Heather Shaw is an important part of our team, so we're going to close it out. Well, Wendy, come, Wendy. So Wendy and I are going to close it out with Heather, and Heather is going to lead us in the city. And so with that, Heather, you want to speak to your flock here?
We have to face the camera.
Oh, the camera. Not with this face.
What are we closing out doing?
You're going to talk. Heather's going to talk on behalf of the city.
On behalf of the city, thank you for being prepared. Thank you for spending time with us today. Every day is a day to prepare, and if you need anything, you have more than enough information right now and more to come. Thank you for being here. Good afternoon.
Wendy, close it out.
Thank you, Freddie. Thank you, Bill, Rolando, our partners at the City of Miami Beach, Miami-Dade County, Emergency Management from the county and the City of Miami Beach. We feel very confident that we can get through anything, right? Because we really have done a great job recovering here in Miami Beach and Miami-Dade County.
We do it together.
And we do it together.
Move to adjourn.
Thank you. Cool. Thanks.